Hi everybody. I'm Mustafa Azab, and today I'm going to speak with you about a very important topic in economics. Actually, it's introduction to economics, and it is very related to everyday life. Yes, we will deal with some graphs, and I know that some students sometimes are afraid from graphs, but we will see how that is very related to our own logic, and I think you will be able to interact with that. Okay?
Right.
So, our topic is supply and demand.
Okay.
Of course, you know that in microeconomics in particular, of course, you know that the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics. Anybody here knows the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Micro small, macro big.
Okay, very nice. Very good answer.
Yeah.
It's not like microbusiness. That's in fact true. The microeconomics, for example, when we speak about the supply of a particular product in the market, that is microeconomics.
Mhm.
But when we speak about GDP or unemployment or things related to the whole economy of the whole country or the economic relationship between countries and each other, that is macroeconomics.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
So in macroeconomics we speak about supply and demand, and as well in microeconomics we speak about supply and demand.
Mhm.
But the only difference that the supply and demand in microeconomics is the supply and demand of a particular product,
Mhm.
apples, oranges, whatever.
Mhm.
But the supply and demand in the macroeconomics is called aggregate supply and aggregate demand, which means the total supply and the total demand.
Mhm.
So that is the only difference. And in the macroeconomics, we are not talking only about one product,
Mhm.
but we are talking about the overall production in the market
Mhm.
of everything.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
So let's return to our supply and demand of the microeconomics, which are related to any particular product. How prices are determined? Prices are determined by those forces of the market. The supply and demand curves, here quantity, here price, here is the supply curve, that is the demand curve. Wherever they intersect,
Mhm.
that is called the equilibrium.
Mhm.
Okay? And that here, at this point, it means that the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
So the price is, but that's if the market is free.
Mhm.
If there is no particular government that is trying to interfere in the market and put a particular price or push it up or push it down, but if the market is totally free, so here the supply and demand, those two players are the only ones who determine that. And wherever they meet, that will be the price. Okay? And here the quantity demanded will be equal to the quantity supplied. How prices change? Prices change by a shift in the supply curve or a shift in the demand curve. A shift in the supply curve, or that's a shift in the demand curve, for example, that will create another equilibrium, a new equilibrium, a new price. Okay? So now the demand is higher, so we will have a higher price. Okay? Or a shift in the supply curve. For example, we'll get more supply. So the more supply will lead to lower price. Okay? So let's draw the demand curve alone and the supply curve alone. Okay? And to speak about the determinants of supply and the determinants of demand. The determinants mean the factors which can push the supply up or vice versa, and the factors which can push the demand up or vice versa. Okay? It will be clearer if we draw each curve alone. So here we have the quantity, the price, the supply curve, and here we have the quantity, the price, and the demand curve. The relationship between the quantity and the price in the supply curve is a positive relationship. Whenever the price increases, the quantity supplied increases, because sellers like to sell with higher prices. So they become more encouraged to sell more, and producers become more encouraged to produce more when the price increases. Okay? So the only factor that can move the quantity supplied from point to another along the curve is a change in price. Okay? And the only factor that can move the quantity demanded along the curve from point to another is also a change in price. But there are other factors called the determinants of demand and the determinants of supply, which can shift the whole curve to the right or to the left. Okay? And here also as well, it can shift it to this direction or that direction. Very quickly, I think before speaking about those, you can figure out some of those factors which can do that. For example, let's start with the demand. People. The demand is people, customers, consumers. Okay? We know that price is a factor that can that can push the quantity demanded up or down along with the same curve without shifts. But what other factors you think that can increase the whole demand without a change in price? There's no change in price. What other factors do you think that can shift the whole curve to the right or to the left? Why consumers in general will buy more? For a reason other than a sale.
Different seasons.
Yeah. Christmas and events and things like that.
Thank you. Thank you. A very important point. So different seasons will affect the preferences of people. Also will affect the tastes of people, because fashions change from season to another. So that will be the first determinant of demand. Any more?
Trends, fashion.
Yeah, but that was with the first one. They are all called. That is a very good point. Fashion and season, they are connected. They are connected to each other. Yes, because seasons are not only summer and winter, but also from season to another, the fashions change. So the preferences and the taste of people change from season to another. Would you like to say what?
Force majeure,
Excuse me?
like as in any unforeseen circumstances, something beyond unexpected and beyond control.
Very good. Another point, which is called the expectations of the consumers. The expectations of the consumers, if they expect that a particular product they like will run out of the market, what they will do?
Yeah.
They will rush to buy it. Okay? So the whole curve will shift to the right. Okay? So if the whole curve shifted to the right here, it will shift to the right there in the equilibrium, so the price, so that will push the price up, will create a new equilibrium. Okay? Also, third factor is the prices of related products, the substitute products and the complementary products. Okay? For example, like tea and coffee are considered to some extent unless you are an addict to one of them. But to some extent they are considered to be substitute products. So when coffee becomes more expensive, okay, the demand curve for tea will shift right or left. The demand for tea will, if coffee became more expensive, so people will buy more tea or less tea?
More.
More tea, exactly. Thank you very much. So that will push the demand curve, will shift it to the right. Okay?
Done for time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Shall let you go back to your
Thank you.
seat. Oh, what time is it?